Hello, everybody. My name is Lexington, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about sentence structure, grammar, and word choice. So, here we go. To get us started, here's an overview. Um, so, first thing we're talking about is sentence structure. What is a sentence and the types of sentences? Then we'll get into grammar, um, punctuation, and homonyms. And then we'll get into word choice. So, sentence structure. What is a sentence? Well, a sentence is a basic unit of writing. Um, there's sets of words that can express a complete thought together. Sentences usually start with a capital letter and end. No, sentences always, not usually. They always start with a capital letter and end with a punctuation mark. Um, there needs to be a subject, a verb, and sometimes an object. And then the subject and verb must agree in number. So um, there's different types of sentences. So there are four different types of sentences. There's simple sentences, and there's compound sentences, and then there's complex sentences, and then there's compound complex sentences. The first type of sentence is a simple sentence. And in a simple sentence, it's one independent clause, and it contains a subject and a verb, and it expresses a complete thought. So an example is, I am a student at Carthage. A compound sentence is two or more independent clauses connected with a conjunction or semicolon. Um, Coordinating conjunctions include for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. So an example of this is, I am a student at Carthage, comma, and I am studying to be a nurse. So these two sentences here, so they're compound sentences. Each of these can hold as a sentence on their own. So I am a student at Carthage can be a sentence, and I am studying to be a nurse can be a sentence. But what makes it a compound sentence is the coordinating conjunction, as you see highlighted there, the comma and that allows you to put both together. The next type of sentence is a complex sentence. Um, and in a complex sentence, there's one independent clause and at least one dependent clause connected with a subordinating conjunction. And then a subordinating conjunction includes because, although, or words like while. Um, and a dependent clause does not express a complete thought on its own. So, for example, although I am a student at Carthage College, I live in Illinois. Um, so I live in Illinois could be a complete sentence on its own, but the dependent clause here, or the thing that could not stand as a sentence as its own, is although I am a Carthage College student. It's saying that out loud. If you said that out loud, it's although I am a Carthage College student, and then what? What about being a Carthage College student? That's why it cannot stand as a sentence on its own. But I am a Carthage College student is its own sentence. You just can't have the subordinating conjunction although. Um, and last type of, excuse me, the last type of sentence is a compound complex sentence. Um, there's at least two independent clauses and one dependent clause. And um, they still connect the same way. And this would be an example. So I didn't go to class because I was sick, but the professor didn't take attendance. So um, the two independent clauses here would be, the two independent clauses here would be, I didn't go to class, that could be a sentence, and I was sick could also be a sentence, but they're connected by the conjunctions. And so I didn't go to class because I was sick. And then the dependent clause that we have here left here connected by another conjunction would be, but the professor didn't take attendance. Next thing we're going to talk about here is grammar. So the first things first about grammar is punctuation. So sentences all end with the punctuation mark. There's three different types of punctuation marks. There's a period, which you use after general statements or facts, a question mark, which is used after a question, and an exclamation point, which is used after sentences with extreme emotion. But the thing to note about these punctuation marks is that an exclamation point is almost never used in academic writing. Um, you'll often just wind up using periods. Um, so that should be taken into consideration when writing, unless it comes from something like a quote or something of that nature. The next thing is colons and semicolons. So a colon is used to introduce a list after a complete sentence. So for example, I bought 3 items at the store: apples, oranges, and bananas. And then a semicolon connects 2 related sentences. As an example, Tommy's dog is loud, semicolon, it would not stop barking. Dashes are also known as hyphens. So dashes or hyphens are used for emphasis, and they're used to indicate sentence, or they're used to indicate sentence introduction slash conclusion. So um, for an example, books, paper, pencil, hyphen, many students do not have access to essential school supplies. And probably one of the most common grammar things is a comma. So they're used to separate ideas in a sentence. Um, they can connect two ideas with coordinating conjunctions, aka compound sentences, which we saw back in What Was a Sentence. So those were things like and, um, or, um, and then it's used when also including a list of 3 or more items. And you will never end a sentence using a comma. It'll always be one of the 3 punctuation marks we talked about. The next thing is capitalization. So you always capitalize the beginning of a sentence, but other things that do have to be capitalized that don't start at the beginning of the sentence is places or as proper nouns, which are things like names, places, or institutions. So my name, Lexington, would be capitalized. A place or institution such as Carthage College, that would be capitalized. And some other examples, Albert Einstein, China, Carthage College, as I just said. Um, so, and then there, well, it's also known as proper adjectives. Um, Proper nouns turned into adjectives. So these are things such as Italian or Shakespearean, are things like Spanish, things of those natures. Then we also have apostrophes. Now, apostrophes are used to make things possessive. For singular nouns, the apostrophe goes before the s. So, for example, I went to Sarah's house for dinner. Sarah doesn't normally have an s after it, so you would put the apostrophe and then an s. But for plural nouns, the apostrophe goes after the s. So, for example, the girl's favorite subject is math. So girls is plural, which normally has an S, so you have to put the apostrophe after. Next, we have homonyms. Now, homonyms are words that sound the same but hold a different meaning. So with these, you have to make sure you understand the meaning of what it is you're trying to say, and you always have to double check your word. Um, and some of the most common homonyms that always get mixed up are it's and its. The one with the apostrophe stands for it is, um, and then the other one is it's something. So, for example, it's a pencil. It's a pencil, or it is a pencil. Excuse me, it is a pencil, or it's not your fault. The next one is your versus your. Um, One is for if something belongs to you, or if it's like if you're asking if somebody, for example, if you're asking if something is somebody's, is this your your? Is this your pencil? The other one is for saying you are, the one with the apostrophe, the contraction. So you're nice, you are nice. It wouldn't be your nice. It's you are nice. So you apostrophe re. And then probably the worst of the worst is the there, and there. So um, the first there, THERE, is if, for example, if you wanted to say like something is within your vicinity, within my vicinity, um, there is THERE, there is a phone, there's a TV. THEIR is for when something belongs to somebody, so it's theirs. Um, so if the object of the sentence or for whatever you're talking about belongs to somebody, you're going to use THEIR. And then, much like the last one, much like your and your, with the your with the apostrophe RE. So they are. Um, that's what the last one here. There, THE apostrophe RE stands for they are. So if there's a bunch of kids outside, you would use that there, saying they're playing outside or they're playing basketball. The next thing is word choice. So what is word choice? Well, word choice is a writer's decision to use specific words or to express meaning. Uh, these seem vague and topic. However, small changes in your word choice can make a big impact on what it is you're trying to get across. Um, it also affects the clarity of your writing, and it also affects the voice of the writing. So what is an example of word choice? Let's take the two words sadness and depression. So although the words are often used interchangeably, both have very different connotations, and depending on which word you read, you would get a different idea about the sentence or the passage. So if I said, if I just said the boy was very sad, that doesn't come across as bad as if I said the boy was depressed. That has a very different meaning, um, even though we use those words interchangeably. So and common word choice mistakes. So misused words are using words incorrectly. So usually this happens when words are based on similar spelling, such as we looked at before. So like there, or it's and it's. Um, and another example could be adverse and adverse. So and there's also unwanted connotations with words. So words with similar meanings often have different emotions associated with them. For example, um, if you were to use if you were to say somebody was confident, that has a very different connotation than to say somebody is egotistical. Um, common word choice mistakes again. So using an unclear pronoun. If pronouns overlap, it can be difficult to tell who you are referring to within your writing. Um, an example would be Jake hugged his brother John, even though he didn't like him very much. So um, even though we have Jake hugged his brother John, even though he didn't like him very much, but because of the overlapping pronouns, we're not sure who didn't like who very much. We're not sure if it was Jake that didn't like his brother very much, or if it was John that didn't like his brother very much. It just makes things kind of confusing. And then there's what's called jargon or technical terms. So typically in academic writing, you want to avoid these kinds of terms. And then you typically want to avoid it unless your audience is knowledgeable about the subject, because oftentimes, even though you may know what it means, you can lose your reader or your audience because they have no idea what you're talking about. Other mistakes are things like wordiness. So, for example, saying although instead of regardless of the fact. So it's just kind of like filler words. Those can also jumble up your writing quite a bit. Um, you also want to try and avoid cliches when you use academic writing. So, for example, saying things like agree to disagree or play it by ear, those aren't things that are really found in academic writing and could actually pull away from um, the strength of your writing when used. And then something to remember when you're writing is the goal of academic writing is to express your ideas clearly and not to sound like a thesaurus. So you don't want to sound like you're constantly just looking up the next word because you feel like you need a different word, or looking up a word because you feel like it sounds better than your last word. What professors and people that want to see your writing want to see that you can clearly express your ideas with the knowledge that you have and what you're capable of doing. They don't want to see that you can just go look up another word and potentially not even know the meaning for that word. And again, doing things like that can even mix up the connotations of what it is you're trying to say if you're always looking up different words because you don't want to use the same word over and over again. If you are going to do things of this nature, you need to be very sure you're clear about what it is you're trying to say. Just a few questions to ask yourself. So, when deciding on a word, some things you can ask yourself is, what does this word mean? Does this word make sense in this context? What does it what does it convey what I want it to? And will my reader understand the meaning and my intention? So like I said, when choosing your different words or when going about trying to figure out what it is that you want to say, um, you can ask yourself a couple of these questions and just really think through about, is this the word that I might want to use here? Is this really what I want to say? Because you don't want something to potentially come off in your paper as offensive or, you know, as just not how you wanted it to come off. And that brings us to the end of our presentation. So if you have any more questions about grammar or anything in general about um, writing, the Writing Center is always here to help. As of right now, we're offering um, online written feedbacks at um, carthage.mywc.online. So you can always set up an appointment there. All of the writing fellows are more than capable of helping you. If you have any other questions, you can leave them in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I really appreciate you for stopping by. Again, um, you know, just if you have any questions, leave them below. And thank you.